Alright, what is up you guys, and welcome back to the 97 English course. In today's recording, we're going to be going over Unit 9, Sports and Leisure. So as always, we start with the key vocabulary, which is not much today, and then we'll move on to listening. So here we have ball, beach, film, football, listen to, music, play, radio, read, stadium, surfing, swimming, television, tennis, watch. Okay, now let's go to listening. So here we have 11 pictures of various activities. Both are either sports or leisure activities. So let's go to exercise A. Look at the photographs. Which ones show sports? Say the numbers. Okay, so let's count them. So 1 is obviously a sport, 2 as well, 3, tennis, 4, and 5. So we'll say from 1 to 5, the pictures, there are sports activities happening in the first 5 photographs or pictures. Okay? What's the second one? Which ones show leisure activities? Say the numbers. Okay, so we'll start from 6 now. So 6, reading. 7, tanning or going to the beach. 8, 9, 10, and 11. So we'll say that from 6 to 11 are all pictures that showcase leisure activities. Okay, now let's go to exercise B. Listen and point. Here we go.
142. Unit 9. Sports and Leisure. Lesson 1. Listening.
Alright, so before we hop in, there's going to be an example like going shopping, going surfing, going swimming, right? So after each one, I want you guys to focus on the photograph that the speaker is talking about and either say it out loud or underline it with your pencil or pen. Okay, here we go.
Exercise B. Listen and point.
Going shopping.
Playing football.
Going swimming.
Playing handball.
Reading a novel.
Watching a film.
Going surfing.
Playing tennis.
Going to the beach.
Playing computer games.
Listening to music.
I love going swimming.
She likes playing handball.
Do you ever go surfing?
I watched a fantastic film last night.
Where can you play tennis in this town?
I'm reading a good novel at the moment.
Do you like going to the beach?
I'm not good at playing computer games.
I always go shopping at the mall on Saturdays.
I like playing football, but I'm not very good at it.
My favourite leisure activity is listening to music.
Alright, so all of these were sentences and phrases showing us the different leisure and sports activities in the pictures above. Okay, so now let's move on to exercise C. Listen and complete table 1, right? So it seems that we have a sort of comprehension here, right? So we're going to be listening, right? It's 3 minutes long. The audio is 3 minutes long, so get ready, right? Make sure you stay on track. Don't fall off because it'll be hard to get back on. Right, so I'll play this once, okay? And I'll be writing the whatever's needed here as we go along, okay? So most popular leisure activities for adults in the UK. That's basically the summary of what the speaker is going to be talking about, okay? So here we go.
143. Exercise C. Listen and complete Table 1.
Today's session is about popular leisure activities. We're going to look at the UK
and later we will compare with other countries. Why are we looking at leisure activities? Why is it important? It's important for business, of course. But most of all, it's important for our health. So let's start. What are the most popular leisure activities for adults in the UK? According to a recent survey, people over 16 in the UK spend most time watching TV or films. The average time is 135 minutes per day. That's over 2 hours each and every day. Meeting friends is in second place. Adults spend an average of 63 minutes on meeting friends and family, of course. That's over an hour a day. What's in third place? Playing football, perhaps, or using the internet? Nope. Third place goes to listening to the radio or music. People over 16 in the UK spend on average 45 minutes each day listening to the radio or music. So, fourth. Computer games, the internet? No. Surprisingly, in fourth place is reading. Yes, reading. Adults in Britain spend nearly half an hour on reading. 24 minutes, actually. That's all kinds of reading. Novels, magazines, and newspapers. Going shopping is in fifth place. Adults spend 20 minutes shopping each day on average. Shopping means buying food and everyday things in a supermarket, for example. It also means buying clothes, DVDs, and other luxury items. Now we're coming to using the internet. People over 16 in Britain spend just a quarter of an hour online. You think that is very low? Well, remember, this is the figure for adults, not for children or teenagers. Playing sport of all kinds is in seventh place. Adults only spend about a quarter of an hour, actually 12 minutes, on playing sport. They spend nearly as long on playing computer games. 11 minutes to be precise. Remember, this is adults. Finally, adults spend 10 minutes on walking. Of course, they drive most of the time or go on public transport. Remember, these figures are for adults, for people over 16 in the UK. Do you think they are very different for adults in your country? Do you think the figures are different for men and women? And what about teenagers? What are the figures for teenagers in your country?
Alright, so based on the audio and what we just heard, we know that these are all the different activities that people do almost daily in the UK, right? This is specific to adults only and not teenagers or children. So in the UK, that's people above 16 years old, right? So the first activity was watching TV or films, and people, they take about 135 minutes every day watching TV or films, right? What goes on to second place is meeting friends and family, which is at 63 minutes per day, right? After that, we have listening to the radio or music, which takes up about 45 minutes per day on average. And coming in at fourth place is reading, which takes about half an hour, 24 minutes to be exact, right? Then we have going shopping, and going shopping here means to go shopping for groceries, for clothes, for, I don't know, anything else. So not just for clothes and bags, but anything else, whether it's food, whether it's clothes, it depends, okay? So that takes about 20 minutes every single day. Then you have using the internet, which only takes 15 minutes per day, which I don't believe, like, at all. I think that's not true. But anyway, around 15 minutes. And then we have playing sports, which is at 12 minutes, okay? And playing computer games, a minute under that, at 11 minutes. And then we have walking, for example, running, etc. That's around 10 minutes. So coming out at a total of 335 minutes per day to do all of these activities in the UK, right? So that was exercise C. Now let's move on. What do we have here? Right, I hope you remember the table, because we're going to be listening one more time and we'll check if it's true or false. Okay? So here we go. Have a listen.
144. Exercise D. Listen. True or false?
Watching TV or films is the most popular leisure activity for adults in the UK. Walking is more popular than playing computer games. Meeting friends and family is in third place. Adults spend twice as long reading as playing sports. Adults spend over 5 hours on leisure activities. Adults spend over 50% of their leisure time watching TV and films.
Alright, so now let's check if these sentences are true or false. So we have number 1, watching TV or films is the most popular leisure activity for adults in the UK. And for that, we'll say it's true. Oh, not mean it. Wow. Okay, let me write that in capital T, right? As in true. And why did I say that? Well, because watching TV and films is the most popular activity because it is in first place according to the survey. Okay? Walking is more popular than playing computer games. Well, for that we'll say F as in false, because walking is actually in 9th place while playing computer games is in 8th. So we'll say that walking is not more popular than playing computer games. Okay? Meeting friends and family is in 3rd place. And again, this is false. Oh, this is false. It's actually in 2nd place. Okay? And we have adults spend twice as long reading as playing sports. For that, we'll say the sentence is true. Because adults spend twice as long reading as playing sports. Well, 24 minutes to 12 minutes, right? That's usually the range on how adults spend these 5 hours on leisure activities. Okay? Then we have adults spend over 5 hours on leisure activities. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We know that the total is 335, right? So 335 minus 12, which is 12 minutes for sports, by the way, that gives us 323 minutes, right? So we'll say it's true, because adults spend over 5 hours on leisure activities in total. Okay, so take out sports, and you got around 323 minutes, okay? Adults spend over 50% of their leisure time watching TV and films. Right, so actually this is wrong. It is under 50%, right? So it's not 50% of their leisure time, it is under that. Okay, so what are we going to do to find out? We'll say that 135, which is the number of minutes, right, that is used for leisure time watching TV and films for adults, and we'll divide it by 335, which is the total, and you get a little under 40%, which is not 50, so we'll say false. Okay, so one more time. First one's true, second is false, false, true, true, and false. Okay, so that was exercise D, you guys. Now let's move on. What do we have here? Here we have discuss these questions. Are the figures the same for adults in your country? Well, what about teenagers? Well, this will be entirely up to you as a student, but for me, that I'll say that figures are pretty similar, right? They're not spot on, but they're similar for the most part. And what about teenagers? No, I think that teenagers, they're not the same as adults when it comes to these activities. There's no teenager that ever uses 15 minutes per day on the internet only. That's not how it works. You've got at least a minimum of an hour and a half. That's like the minimum nowadays for teenagers, right? Everybody in general. So yeah, we'll say that playing sports is a lot more, using the internet. Listening to music is also a little bit longer. So yeah, all of these are a lot more when it comes to teenagers. Okay? E2, how many minutes do you spend on each activity every day? Again, this will be entirely up to you, but hey, I'll say about mine, you talk about yours. So we'll say TV and films, for example, I'll say that per day I'll spend around I'll say 90 minutes. Yeah, 90 minutes to 120 minutes simply watching films. So I don't watch TV, okay? So I think films are a great way, or TV shows. So these take up a good chunk of my time, right? You also got meeting friends and family. For me, that's about, I don't know, I'll say that's about 30 minutes, right? What about listening to the radio or music? That takes up an hour of my time, so now 45 minutes, around an hour of my day, okay? Reading, I'll say that also takes about an hour and a half if I'm reading a lot that day, but for the most part, it's always an hour, right? Going shopping, not that much, so I'll say about 20 minutes as well. Using the internet, I'll definitely say that this is like 4 hours plus. Minimum. Yes, I use the internet a lot, so we'll say that 3 to 4 hours per day. Then you have playing sports, which, to be honest with you, I don't do that often, so we'll say at maybe around 30 to 60 minutes. Then you have playing computer games. I don't play computer games, not much anymore, so we'll say that that's around like 10 minutes or 0 if I ever like encounter a funny game that I'll play for like a little bit. Then we have walking, running, for example, and I'll definitely say that's about 30 to 60 minutes as well, depending on where I am and what errands I have to run that day. Okay? So that was me, personally. Now, I want you to talk about yourself and answer these questions. Now, let's move on. What do we have here? Here we have some pictures. So we have cinema, stadium, theater, mall, and sports center. Right? Look at the photographs. Alright, so here we go. Let's take a quick look at the photographs here. We're gonna listen and number these words. By the way, this is not F, this is E, okay? So we have A, B, C, D, and E, not F. Okay, so sports center will be E and not F. So let's number these as we go along. Here we go.
145. Exercise F1. Listen and number.
1. Nowadays, many people go to sports centres early in the morning before work or college, or early in the evening after work or college. 2. At one time, people said television will replace cinema, but millions of people still go to watch films every week. 3. The Greeks built a lot of new stadiums for the Olympic Games in Athens in 2004. 4. People go to the mall to shop, but they also go there to meet their friends. 5. Teenagers don't go to the theatre in the UK very much. They go to music concerts much more.
Alright, so based on what we just heard, we know that he talked about sports center first, then he talked about cinemas, stadiums, malls, and theaters. Okay? Now let's listen here, and I want you guys to answer these on your own if you can. Here we go. Have a listen.
146. Exercise F2. Listen and answer.
Is there a mall near here?
How often do you go to the theatre?
Does this place have a sports centre?
What is the name of the nearest football stadium?
What films are on at the cinema this week?
Alright, so these are all questions that you can answer on your own. So is there a cinema nearby? You could always say yes, there is. Go right, left, it depends. Can you go to the mall with me, for example? Again, these are all questions that are easily answered. Now let's move on. Actually, before we do, let's go to skills check 1 here. We have something called active listening, right? So remember, when we listen, we can often predict the next word or phrase, and this will actually be done automatically by your brain as you get better and better in the English language, right? So you'll hear someone talking, especially when it comes to like a lecture, right? Someone giving a formal speech, and you'll find yourself often trying to predict the next word before it comes out of the speaker's mouth, right? This can also help you with active listening. Okay, so for example, if someone is talking or speaking, think to yourself, what is the speaker going to say next? And always have these words in the back of your head about, what will the speaker say? You might not get them correct the first time, the second time, but over time, you'll get better at it, and that's how you become an active listener. Okay? Now let's go to exercise G here. Listen to the introduction to a lecture about leisure activities. What is the lecturer going to talk about? Alright, so we're going to be listening to an introduction now, and we're going to choose what the lecturer is going to talk about. Here we go.
147. Exercise G. Listen to the introduction to a lecture about leisure activities.
There are two main kinds of leisure activities. The first kind is sports, like football and tennis. I talked about sports last week. I'm not going to talk about sports activities today. I'm going to talk about the other kind of leisure activities, like reading and going to the cinema. In the UK, these activities are more popular than sports with adults. So today, we are going to look at some of these activities.
Right, so based on the audio that we just heard, we now know that the lecturer is going to talk about reading and going to the cinema and etc. You get the idea. So he's not going to talk about sports or sports activities because they are not quite as known as the other leisure activities for adults in the UK. Okay, so reading, going to the cinema, etc. Now let's move on. What do we have here? Here we have exercise H. Listen to the first part of the lecture. Okay, and you'll see these pauses, right? This is called active listening. So I'll let this play out. There's going to be this brief pause. Try and find the word. If you can't, that's fine. I'll play it again with the correct words. So you'll listen and check your ideas after. But for now, try and predict the word when the pause comes along. So here we go.
148. Exercise H. Listen to the first part of the lecture.
We do some leisure activities with hundreds of other. For example, watching football or watching a film or going to see a play We do some leisure activities with one or two of our. For example, watching television or shopping at the. We do some leisure activities alone. For example, reading or listening to music on an MP3.
Alright, so now check your words, whatever you got correct, in H2 here.
149. Exercise H2. Listen again and check your ideas.
We do some leisure activities with hundreds of other people. For example, watching football in a stadium, or watching a film in a cinema, or going to see a play in a theatre. We do some leisure activities with one or two of our friends. For example, watching television at home, or shopping at the mall. We do some leisure activities alone. For example, reading a book or listening to music on an MP3 player.
Alright, I hope you got some of these words correct at least, but hey, it's fine if you didn't get any word. Now let's move on. What do we have here? Here we had read skills check 2, so let me actually open this. You guys might be able to get a better view here. We have skills check 2, hearing these two different sounds, as in hot and call, but I'm guessing that's going to be in British. So we're going to listen to the words, right? So some of these words here, and we'll see how the speaker pronounces the different words. Here we go.
150. Exercise I1. Listen to the words.
Ball, job, watch, what, mall, orange, sport, walk, want, author.
Right, so these were the different words. We're going to be listening to them again, but before we do that, let's talk about the different pronunciation that we have here. So we have hot and what British people like to say is cool, right? That's not how I pronounce it, but hey, it's fine. It depends on your pronunciation, right? So you have hot and hot and cool. So we'll see where each word falls. Okay, so we're gonna listen again, and this time we're gonna check which of these words, or how many times do you hear the normal O in the following audio. Okay, so here we go.
151. Exercise I2. Listen to some sentences. How many times do you hear "o" in each sentence?
1. There's a lot of hot water if you want a bath.
2. What kind of watch have you got?
3 as well.
3. We went shopping for our holiday and we bought lots.
3 as well.
4. The bus stops 4 times on this route.
2 as well.
5. Sorry, but I don't want modern art on my office wall.
We heard it 5 times in that last sentence, okay? So the first sentence had 3, right? And then 2 also had 3. 3 had 3 as well. 4 had 2, and 5 had 5, okay? We're going to listen to some more sentences, and how many times do we now hear this cool that we're talking about. So here we go.
152. Exercise I3. Listen to some more sentences. How many times do you hear "or" in each sentence?
1. Can we walk and talk at the same time?
2.
2. Please call me after 4.
2 as well.
3. Your ball went over the wall.
3.
4. The author was born in 1944.
You heard that 4
5.
times.
I went to a really boring talk about jobs in sport.
3. Okay, so these were all the different sentences with the different pronunciation. Okay, so now let's go to skills check here. And so 1, we have ball. So ball will be here, similar to call. Then we have job, like hot. Okay, so job like hot. Then we have watch, which is again like hot. What or what? So we'll say hot as well. Mall, mall will be like call. Okay, so mall, call. Orange, orange will be like ball and hot. Sport, sport will be like call. Okay. Walk, again, like sport, like call. Want will be like hot. Okay, and author will be like call. Okay, so these were the different words in skills check 2. What else do we have? Alright, so now this will be just a discussion between you guys if you're in class before we move on to speaking. So we have, do you like doing leisure activities with a lot of people, a few friends, or alone? Well, for me personally, I'd say that it really depends on the situation. So sometimes I really like to do things alone, right? In the comfort of my own room or office, just like to do things my own way. But I can also do a lot of things with a few friends, right? Not much. So it really just depends on the situation that I'm in, okay? Now, tell me about you. Do you like doing leisure activities with a lot of people, a few friends, or alone? And yeah, that's about it, you guys. Now let's move on. Alright, you guys, so now let's move on to lesson 2, speaking. Here we have 9 pictures, right, or photographs, and what do you guys think is happening in each one? Well, what do all the photographs show? Well, based on these photographs, we'll say that they are all about leisure activities. Okay, so here you have handball, which could be considered a leisure activity. Then you have reading, playing video games, probably watching a movie, cinema, right? Listening to music, shopping, watching television or film, right? A theater, right? And browsing the internet. So what is the name of each activity? Let's say it one more time. So we have handball, reading, probably playing a computer game, right? Watching a film, listening to music, right? Shopping, watching TV, watching a play, right? I don't know why I said theater earlier. It's watching a play, and using the internet. Okay? So now let's go to exercise B. Look at the conversation on the right. Alright, so we're actually going to listen to this conversation here. So listen to the conversation first and try to understand the sense of how these two people are talking, because I want you guys, if you're in class, to have conversations of your own. So let's listen first. Here we go.
153. Lesson 2. Speaking. Exercise B1. Listen to the conversation.
How do you spend your free time?
Listening to music.
Anything else?
Watching television and reading.
Do you like playing sports?
No, I don't. I hate playing sports.
What about watching?
Well, I like watching tennis and basketball. What about you?
Right, so that was the conversation, right? Like I said, I want you guys to have conversations if you're in class. One more thing, by the way. Have you guys noticed the change in intonation in the sound when someone says, I hate or I love? You see that when they want to emphasize a certain emotion or something like that, you usually say it louder, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in a few minutes. But for now, let me just tell you that when you're talking about emotion or you're stressing something, you usually say it louder, right? So you raise your voice just a little bit higher. So you say, man, I hate life right now. I know this is probably a bad example, but you get the idea, right? Man, I love cookies, right? Your intonation and voice goes up just a little bit, right? To express your feelings. Okay? So that was that. Now let's move on to exercise C. Read pronunciation check 1. Right. That's the emphasizing that I was talking about. So we sometimes want to emphasize a word in the sentence, so we say it more loudly. So basically, when you want to emphasize a word, say it more loudly, right? So I don't say I hate playing sports. No. I hate playing sports, right? I love watching tennis. Okay? These are all ways that you can emphasize a word or what you think. Just say more loudly. Okay? Now let's go to exercise C here. Listen and repeat the sentences. Alright, so here we have some sentences. Try to repeat them after the speaker. Okay? Here we go.
154. Exercise C1. Listen and repeat the sentences.
I hate playing sports. I love watching tennis.
Alright, so these were the exact same sentences. I did not expect that. You could also say things like, I really love my job, right? I don't like driving, for example, right? I don't like driving, okay? I love sleeping, right? I hate waking up early. All of these are examples of you raising your voice just a little bit to emphasize the word that you want to get across. Okay? So yeah, that's about it. Talk about some of the activities in the photographs below. Use love or hate, right? So for example, I can say I love watching handball. So I'll say I love watching handball, right? I love reading novels. I enjoy listening to music, right? I hate shopping. Okay? I can also say, I hate watching television. Okay? Why do I feel that hate is such a strong word for this case? Anyways, yeah, that's basically the sum up of what I'm trying to say, which is emphasizing. Okay? Now, let's move on. What do we have here? Oh yeah, bar charts. So, let's go to skills check 1 here, understanding bar charts. Right. So figure 1 here is a bar chart. Well, it's called a bar chart first of all because you can see these different bars. I like to think of them as sort of close to chocolate bars, right? And you have these numbers on the side. Then you have the different genres or categories. It really depends on the information displayed, right? So it has categories, which could be, in this case, playing sport, watching TV, films, etc. at the bottom, and it has a unit of measurement. So these numbers could be either, I don't know, a percentage, a specific number, probably temperature, so Celsius. It really depends on what you use the bar chart for. Okay, and that is always on the left hand side. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about bar charts. So just so you know, a bar chart shows a picture of the information. So in this case, right, so we can see that playing sports is more popular than watching TV and films. Well, how do I know that? Because I know that the bar of playing sports is higher than the one that says watching TV and films. Okay, you also got to know that bar charts do not give the exact number in most cases. Okay, so it's basically sort of a quick guessing game, but you will know for a fact that one bar is bigger than the other. Okay, so when talking about a bar chart, you could say a little over, which means more than, a little under, which means less than, and exactly, which means the same as. Okay, now let's go to exercise D. Again, we're going to study figure 1. What does the figure show? Well, based on what we just read, we'll say that the figure shows favorite activities for teenagers in Ontario. As you can see here, so favorite leisure activities for teenagers from 16 to 20 years old in Ontario, Canada. What do the numbers on the left mean? Okay, so these are numbers on the left, and these are, in this case, percentages. Okay. 3. What is the figure for playing sport? So playing sport will go up, 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 up. So it's somewhere between 14 and 16. So we'll say not clear, and we'll say just under 16%. Okay. Talk about the activities in figure 1 using patterns from skills check 2. Right, so these are some of the patterns. Now let's talk about some of the activities. So I can probably say meeting friends is a little over shopping, right? Music is a little under shopping. Okay? Music and reading are almost exactly the same. Right? They're not the same, but they're almost exactly the same. They're super close to each other. Okay, so these are different ways that you can use to talk about bar charts. Okay, now let's move on. Do a survey into leisure activities. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do, right? Especially if you're in class, this is a really good exercise. So make a table like this one, right? So here you have the activity, right? And you have about 10 students, leave a bracket for 10 students, have the total, and have this percentage here, percentage column. Okay? Choose your favorite 5 leisure activities, or any 5 leisure activities, it depends, right? And ask 10 people, right? And record their answers, right? What do they think of it? What about it? Do they like it? What is it? Okay? And then work out the totals and percentages. Okay? These are all ways that could help you retain information. Okay? And then, obviously, for exercise F, discuss your survey results. Actually, before we move on, let's go to pronunciation check here. Leave us from all this. I just want you guys to repeat after me so you guys can can improve your pronunciation. Okay? So we have lots, what, watch, shopping. Okay? Then we have sport, call, fourth, saw, and author. Okay? So again, leave us from all of that and just focus and say the words after me. Right? So that was speaking, guys. Now let's move on. Alright, you guys, so now let's move on to lesson 3, vocabulary and pronunciation. Let's start with exercise A. Look at the photographs above. So here we have, where can you buy or get each item? Match the items in the photographs with the words in the box. So here we have some items, right? For example, a pair of trainers, a pair of jeans, a toothbrush, a DVD, etc. Right? So we're gonna match the items in the photographs with these words in the box, right? So you have a sports shop, a clothes shop, a pharmacy, a post office, a cash machine, and an electronic games shop. Okay? So where can you buy or get each item? So let's combine both and make a sentence that's useful on where can you buy or get each item. So for a pair of trainers, we can say you can buy trainers in a sports shop, right? So we'll say a sports shop. So you can buy a pair of trainers or trainers in a sports shop, right? 2 is a pair of jeans. So we can say a pair of jeans, we'll say a clothes shop for that. So you can buy jeans in a clothes shop, okay? Then you have a toothbrush. You can get a toothbrush from a pharmacy. So we'll say you can buy a toothbrush in a pharmacy or from a pharmacy. Both are correct. And then we have, what do we have? Post office? Or, yeah, so we'll say you can buy stamps in a post office. Okay, so stamps, post office. Money, you can get money from a cash machine. So you can get money from a cash machine. And finally we have DVDs. So we'll say you can buy DVDs or a DVD in an or from an or in an, both are correct, electronic games shop. Okay, now let's listen and check our answers. Here we go.
155. Lesson 3. Vocabulary and Pronunciation. Exercise A2. Listen and check your answers.
You can buy trainers in a sports shop. You can buy jeans in a clothes shop. You can buy a toothbrush in a pharmacy. You can buy stamps in a post office. You can get money from a cash machine. You can buy DVDs in an electronic game shop.
Yep, so we got all of them right. Now let's move on. Here we have exercise B. Listen to some sentences. What does each person want to buy? Number the items above. So let's have a look here. Right, so we're going to be listening to some sentences. Obviously different people speaking, and what does each person want to buy? So we're going to number these items accordingly. So we have a t-shirt, a sandwich, a souvenir, a birthday present, and makeup. Okay, so we'll listen together and I'll be numbering these as we go along. Here we go.
156. Exercise B. Listen to some sentences. What does each person want to buy?
I want to buy a new t-shirt. I want a white one for tennis. And I want a pair of new trainers too.
It's my mother's birthday on Saturday. I want to buy her a present. I don't want to give her flowers again.
I'm going shopping this evening. I want to buy some makeup. And I want shampoo.
What's the best place for souvenirs? I think the airport shops are too expensive. I want to buy one for my brother.
I'm really hungry. I'm going to the supermarket. I want to get a sandwich.
Yep, so number 1 was a t-shirt, 2 was a birthday present, 3 was makeup, 4 was a souvenir, and 5 was a sandwich. Okay, pretty simple and standard stuff. Let's move on. Here we have skills check before we move on, using the word want. Well, you should know that we can use the word want with a noun phrase, and we could also use want with a verb and a noun phrase. So both are possible. Okay, so I can say I want a pair of trainers. I can also say I want to buy a pair of trainers, right? So noun phrase, fine, and a verb phrase is also fine. Okay, or rather a verb and a noun phrase together. So again, I want a pair of trainers and I want to buy a pair of trainers are both correct. Okay, and then here we have the pronunciation check, saying want and the verb. So notice the stressed words in these sentences. You gotta know that we don't stress the word to. Okay, so whenever you see to, don't stress it when talking. So instead of saying I want to buy a stamp, just say I want to buy a stamp. Okay, make sure that you use to as a stepping stone instead of just stressing it unnecessarily. Okay, so I want to buy a or a stamp. Okay, I don't want to get a car. Okay, practice these and you should get better over time. Right, what else do we have? Alright, so here we have a CD, a a bag, a jacket, shampoo, and a bag. Look at the items above. Which things do you want to buy? Well, this will again be entirely up to you, but try to make some sentences about what you want, or say some sentences about what you want to buy. So for example, I could say, I'm gonna go buy a new pair of shoes, right? I'm gonna go get a new bag. I'll buy a new jacket soon, right? I need to buy shampoo. Okay? It really just depends. Now let's go to exercise D. Complete each conversation between a shop assistant and a customer. Well, this is a really interesting exercise. So here we have one, or actually we should listen before we move on. So I'm gonna listen to these. Okay, what I want you guys to do is, I'm not gonna be writing these because it's quite long, a minute and 11 seconds. So I want you guys to take out a sticky note, right? And I want you guys to write some notes, okay? Or just write these and check your answers with me after we're done. So here we go, have a listen.
157. Exercise D1. Listen and check your answers.
Conversation 1.
Excuse me, how much is this DVD?
It's £4.99.
OK, where can I pay?
Over there, near the door.
Thanks.
That's OK.
Conversation 2.
Can I help you?
Yes, please. How much are these jeans?
They're £47.50.
Can I try them on?
Certainly.
Conversation 3.
I want to buy an iPod, please.
OK. Which one are you interested in?
The iPod Classic, in silver, for $199.
This one here?
Yes, please. Do you take credit cards?
Yes, we do.
Conversation 4.
How do you want to pay?
By card, please.
Can you put it in the machine, please? And enter your PIN number.
OK.
And here's your receipt.
Right, so based on what we just heard, I hope you got some notes. Now let's write them together. So first conversation was, excuse me, how much is this DVD, right? It's $4.99. Okay, where can I pay? Over there, near the door. Thanks. And she said we'll say that's okay, right? And then conversation 2, can I help you? Yes, please. How much are dash jeans? So we'll say, are these jeans, right? And then we'll say they. The R is already written, so we'll say they're 47.50. Let me write that in capital. They're 47.50. Can I try them on? Certainly. Okay. Then we have conversation 3. I want to dash an iPod, please. We'll say I want to buy an iPod, please. Okay. Which one dash you interested in? Which one are you interested in? The iPod Classic in silver for $199. This one here, yes please. Do you dash credit cards? We'll say, do you take credit cards? Yes, we do. Okay, then we have 4. How do you want to pay? By card, please. Can you dash it in the machine, please? And dash your PIN number. So we'll say, can you put it in the machine, please? And enter your PIN number. Okay, and here, well, we're missing an apostrophe, by the way, apostrophe S. So here's your, we'll say, here's your receipt. Okay. So one more time, excuse me, how much is this? Or rather, I should just play it one more time instead of reading it, just to check our answers, and then we'll see if we have anything else. Here we go.
Listen and check.
Excuse me, how much is this DVD?
It's £4.99.
Okay, where can I pay?
Over there, near the door.
Thanks.
That's okay.
Conversation 2.
Can I help you?
Yes, please. How much are these jeans?
They're £47.50.
Can I try them on?
Certainly.
Conversation 3.
I want to buy an iPod, please.
Okay. Which one are you interested in?
The iPod Classic, in silver, for $199.
This one here?
Yes, please. Do you take credit cards?
Yes, we do.
Conversation 4.
How do you want to pay?
By card, please.
Can you put it in the machine, please? And enter your PIN number.
Okay.
And here's your receipt.
Alright, so we got all of them right. That was that. Now let's move on. Here we have work in pairs. Alright, so what I want you guys to do if you're in class, and this is really important, you should do this even if you're at home, is practice more conversations, right? Especially use that customer and shop assistant, right, conversation that we were just talking about, right? Your teacher could give you a shopping list and a price list. If not, just go on the internet or make up stuff. But the important part here is to actually practice your conversation and talking and using the polite intonation that shop assistants use, right? You never talk to a shop assistant and he's rude to you. That makes him a bad shop assistant, and that increases his likelihood to be fired, okay? So try using the polite intonation when talking as a shop assistant and also as a customer. Don't ever be rude as a customer, both in real life and in conversations. Okay? So that was vocab and pronunciation, you guys. Now let's move on. Alright, you guys, so now let's go to lesson 4 reading. Let's start with exercise A here. Add a word or phrase to each verb to make a leisure activity. So these, you should be able to get these by using your sense, not necessarily memorize anything in particular. This will come to you over time, okay? So listen to, we can say music, we can also say an iPod, so listen to an iPod, listen to the radio. All of these are leisure activities. 2, you could say read novels, read stories, etc. Play, we can say soccer, football, play basketball. 4, go, we can say go shopping, go out, right? Go to, so we'll say go to the theater, right? Do, we can say do aerobics, right? 7, watch, we can say watch sports, right? Watch television, watch a movie. All of these are leisure activities. And finally, use, we'll probably say use the internet, right? So all of these are examples of leisure activities. Now, before we move on, let's take a look at skills check 1 here. By the way, before we move on, I wanted to tell you guys that in this lesson, you guys should be able to read and make notes and understand encyclopedia entries, okay? Just keep that in mind when going through this lesson, okay? So here we have marking text. So often you see people in college and even in high school and in their jobs just highlighting things, but some people take that one extra step and highlight things in different colors. Do you guys have any idea why do they do that? I mean, it seems like such a hassle. Why can I just not, I don't know, mark them down with my pen, with my blue pen? Well, the answer to that, my dear student, is that these are different colors, right? And your brain processes information differently, right? So for example, if I highlight all the dates in blue, right, and all the names in yellow, now my brain, when I'm sitting in an exam or when I simply have to memorize something, now my brain knows that this yellow associates with names, so it makes it a lot easier for me to understand. Same thing goes with blue, right? So if I say, I don't know, if I talk about, I don't know, the different wars, for example, right, or different names in blue or green, that's how my brain associates or even retains the information, okay? You could even use different styles, but this one is the most common. For example, for different adjectives or nouns, you could use circles, clouds, or even boxes or rectangles. Just know that marking in general, no matter which one, really does help with your reading and active reading in general, and also retaining information for later on, okay? Although it is time consuming, I do believe it's worth it. But hey, it's up to you. It depends on how you study and how you like to study as well. Okay, so that was marking text. Now let's read here the text in the opposite, and then we'll keep going with the exercises. So we have 1, the novel. A novel is a long story. Most novels have more than 40,000 words. The name comes from the Italian word novella. The word means new. There were long stories in ancient Greece in about 500 BCE. Perhaps the first novel was The Education of Cyrus. Over 5,000 new novels appear every year in the USA. 2. The iPod. An iPod is a personal music player. You listen to music through headphones. The name comes from 2 English words. The letter I means individual, and the word pod means a small holder or carrier. The Japanese company Sony made the first personal music player in 1979. It used cassettes. In 2001, Tony Fadil made the iPod for Apple computers. It uses MP3 files. There are now 40 million iPods worldwide. 3. Tennis. Tennis is a ball game for 2 or 4 people. The name comes from the French word tennis. The word means hold. Major Wingfield played the first game of modern tennis in 1873 in Britain. However, there was a much older game. It was called Royal Tennis. It started in France in the 12th century. 60 million people play tennis worldwide. 4. Chess. Chess is a game for 2 players. You use a board with 64 black and white squares. The name comes from the Persian word for king, Shah. The game appeared in India in about 600 BCE. There are over 550 million chess players worldwide. 5. Films. A film is a story at cinema. The name comes from the film in the camera. In the USA, films are called movies because the pictures move. William Freeze Green made the first film in 1889 in Britain. However, the American Thomas Edison showed the first film to people in 1891. People started making films in Hollywood in about 1910. India now makes about 800 films every year. This is more films than Hollywood. 6. Surfing. Surfing is a kind of skiing on the sea. You ski on waves to the beach. The name comes from the word surf. It means the waves near the coast. The sport probably started in Hawaii in 1400 or 1500 BCE. In 1915, Duke Kahanamoku, a Hawaiian, took the sport to the USA and Australia. The sport arrived in Europe in the 1950s. There are over 3,000 good surfing beaches worldwide. Alright, so that was the text, you guys. That name got me there. Now let's go to exercise B. Look quickly at the texts on the opposite page. Where can you see texts like this? What do we have? In a newspaper, in an advertisement, in an encyclopedia, or on a website. Right, so based on these texts, where can you see this exact same style? We'll definitely say in an encyclopedia, right? Oh, I did not mean to do that. Let me open this so I can write it down. Right, so these texts usually come from an encyclopedia, for example, print or website, like Wikipedia, for example. They are factual, okay, you guys? So in an encyclopedia, all right? Now, let's move on. What else do we have? Right, read skills check 1, then scan the texts on the opposite page, find the items in the box, and mark each item in some way. Alright, so remember when I told you guys about marking items and text in general and how it can help you with active reading and retaining information? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do, right? So we already read the text. I want you guys to pause the video right now and read it one more time on your own, right? And I want you guys to find 6 countries, 6 nationalities, 4 names, right? But mark them in a different way, whether that's different colors, countries be in boxes and nationalities circles. It depends. Just make sure that no two pieces of information are the same. Okay? By the way, I would like to differentiate that, some of you may confuse country and nationality. Country is the name of a country, while nationality is the name of someone's country, right? So for example, a country will say America, right? Or the USA, or Italy, for example. Let's take Italy, okay? Nationality for that would be Italian, okay? So Italian is his nationality, while Italy is his country. Okay, so country is the name of the country itself. Nationality is the name of his nationality. Okay, then you have names, pretty simple, 11 dates, and 10 other numbers. Also remember that numbers can come after words like more, than, about, and over. But also know that numbers can come in the form of words. So not just numbers themselves, but also words. Okay? Simple stuff. Pause the video and do this exercise. So, I hope you're able to do it. Now, let's check our answers together. Sorry. So, for 6 countries, we'll say Greece, right? We'll also say the USA. For tennis, I think I read something along the lines of, yes, Britain and France, right? And India. How many so far do we got? So we got about 5. One more. We'll say Hawaii. Yes. Okay? So Hawaii. So again, Greece, the USA, Britain, France, India, and Hawaii if you want to add more. Even Australia as well. Okay? 6 nationalities. Alright. So we'll say, based on what I just read, we'll say Italian, right? English and Japanese. Okay? French, Persian, and American. Right? These are 6 nationalities. 4 names, we'll say, this one's pretty simple. Cyrus, Tony Fadil, Major Wingfield, we'll say Duke, I think it was Duke Kahanamoku, and William Freeze Green. You could also add Thomas Edison if you want. Okay? 11 dates. Alright, so we'll say 600 BCE, right? 500 BCE. 1979, 2001, 1873, and the 12th century. All of these are examples of dates. Excuse me. Let's add more, actually. So since he wants 11, we'll say 1400, 1500, 1915, 1950s, 1899, 1891, 1910, 1970, and we already did that. So all of these are basically examples of dates. Okay? What else do we have? 10 other numbers. Okay. We'll say 40,000, 5,000, 40 million, 2, 4, 60 million, 2 again. What else? 64, yeah. 550 million, 800 for films, and 3,000. Okay? What else? I think that's about it, yeah. So that was the exercise. I hope you were able to mark all of these in different colors, or basically anything that differentiates each one. Okay? Now, just before we move on, remember when I told you guys that we find texts in this style only in an encyclopedia? Well, when reading encyclopedia entries, that's how it usually goes. So it goes by definition, origins of the name, if it's a name, right? Its history, and the present day. Okay? Similar to chess here and basically all of these types of texts. So again, definition, origins of the name, history, and the present day. Alright. Now let's go to exercise D. All the texts on the opposite page have the information in the same order. So which paragraph answers each question below? Right, so let's open this so we can get a better view and start solving it. So we have which paragraph answers each question below, right? So choose a paragraph, not the box, you guys, a paragraph from the saying that gives us answers to these questions. So one is, how popular is the activity / item today? And for that we'll say it's about Yeah, we'll say it's about paragraph number 4. Over 5,000 new novels appear every year in the USA. Obviously, this goes for all these different texts. So we'll say 1, 4. What is the activity / item? Well, this one's pretty simple. That's 1. That'll be paragraph number 1. When did the activity / item appear? Or when did the activity / item first appear? And we'll say, I think that's the 3rd. So Major Wingfield played the first game, yes, of modern tennis in 1873 in Britain. However, there was a much older game. It was called Royal Tennis, and it started in France in the 12th century. Alright, so 3 was when did the activity or item first appear? That's paragraph 3. And finally, where does the name come from? That's 2. So the name comes, so yes, 2, right? So where does the name come from? That'll be paragraph number 2. Alright, so 4, 1, 3, 2. Right, so what else do we have? Right, before we move on, here we have skills check 3, making notes. Right, so when you want to take notes, especially if you're at home, if you have a little bit more time, I know that it can get really tough writing notes during a lecture. This is one of the many ways that you can do it. Well, you could make a table, right? You could just make sure that you add names, right? As in a name, a date, right? Definition, places, numbers, history. It really just depends on what you're writing notes for. But the general idea is to have names, dates, places, and numbers. These are the 4 most basic categories that you gotta have in every note. Or basically any notes that you decide to take, right? Now, work in groups of 6. If you're in class, this is also a really good really good project that you can do. So choose a text, right? You have a lot here. You have 6 different texts, right? Read your text and make notes in the table here. So you see this table, you guys? Make notes about, just choose one and take notes about it, right? Or make notes. Okay, now if you want to do more, if you're feeling extra fancy, make notes about other leisure activities outside here. So go on the internet or find something that you find enjoyable, a leisure activity perhaps, and write your own notes. Okay, and you can always compare them with your friends and show your teacher, so you can always improve, because trust me, notes are a lifesaver. Okay, so that was reading, you guys. Now let's move on. Alright, you guys, so now let's move on to lesson 5, writing and grammar. Let's start with exercise A. Here we have read the sentences. So she likes playing sport, he hates swimming. Alright, and before we do anything, let's go to skills check 1 first. So here we have using love, like, enjoy, and hate. Okay, so these verbs like love, like, enjoy, and hate, are going to be followed by words with ing in the case that we're doing here, okay? So what is a gerund exactly? So here he says we often follow these verbs with the gerund. Well, a gerund is the name of the word after the verb, okay? Basically, a gerund is a noun made from a verb, right? When you add an ing, that's how it turns into a gerund, right? So read, if it turns to reading, listening, playing, going, watching, etc., then this is called a gerund, okay? Now let's go back here to A1. What is the connection between the verbs like and hate? Alright, so we just said that, right? The verbs like and hate and enjoy and love as well are followed by words with ing. Okay, for example, I love reading, she likes listening, etc. Okay, A2, what is the name of the word after the verb? Pretty simple, like we said, gerund, right? It's the name of the word after the verb is gerund, and it is basically a noun made from a verb. All right, 3, study these infinitives and gerunds. How do you make a verb into a gerund? What are the spelling rules? Alright, so let's take the word do, you guys, for example. If I want to add ing to do to turn it from a verb to a gerund, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to add ing, yes. So do, I'll simply add ing, okay? words like drive, for example, right? I have an E at the end. Well, I'm going to get rid of that E, and I'll simply add ing. So drive, driving, okay? Say, saying, okay? Let me actually go down here. I'm pretty sure we have one more skills check about gerunds. So skills check 2, making the gerund. So we can make many verbs into nouns. The pattern is infinitive plus ing, like I just said. We call this kind of noun a gerund, okay? So these are the spelling rules that I was talking about, right? So the verb here, if it ends with O, then you're simply going to add ing, right? If it ends with EAD, or simply D, just add ing as well. Watch, again, ing, ch, don't change anything, just add ing, right? If you have a vowel and a consonant, such as swim, add one more M, right, depending on the final word. So swimming in this case, right? And then you have Y. Whenever you see a Y, don't change anything, just add ing as well, okay? And here we have, just like we said, consonant plus E, just like drive, for example. You're going to get rid of the E and add ing, okay? And if you have double E, then you'll just keep them and add ing as well, okay? So that was exercise A3. What else do we have? Yeah, now let's go to exercise B. Complete the survey report with the verbs in the box. Use the correct form. You can use the same verb more than once. Alright, so let's open this and see what we got here. Right, so we have some words here, some verbs in the box, right? We're gonna have to change some of the forms of these verbs when we write them down in the text down here, okay? So let's read it together and slowly try to use the correct form, okay? So here we have, most people in my group love dash computer games. So go, hate, read, like, listen, play, use, and watch. So we'll say play, but I'm not going to say play. I'm going to say playing, you guys, okay? So most people in my group love the word that I was talking to you guys about, love playing computer games. Most people also love, again, dash to music. We'll say listening to music, okay? And they love dash the internet. And we'll say they love using the internet. Many people enjoy dash shopping. We'll say many people enjoy, we're going to use go, so we'll say going. Okay, so that's correct, going shopping. But some people dash it. So we're going to say hate it. I'm not going to say hating here. That's wrong, okay? So, but some people hate it. Okay? Most people like dash films. We'll say most people like, we're going to use watch and add ing. So most people like watching films. But only a few people dash going to the theater. So we'll say, but only a few people, we'll say like going to the theater. Okay, so we're going to use going twice, which is fine, by the way. You can use the same verb more than once, but only a few people like going to the theater. A few people like dash novels. We'll say a few people like, read, and ing becomes reading. So a few people like reading novels, but most people don't dash reading at all. So we'll say don't like reading at all. Okay, so now let's read it with the correct verbs. So we have most people in my group love playing computer games. Most people also love listening to music, and they love using the internet. Many people enjoy going shopping, but some people hate it. Most people like watching films, but only a few people like going to the theater. A few people like reading novels, but most people don't like reading at all. Alright? So that was exercise B, you guys. Now let's move on. What do we got here? Yeah, we're done with this part, so now let's go to the next page. Right, so this is going to be pretty long, and if you're in class, I suggest you divide yourselves into two groups, right? Exercise D, work into groups. So group A will be studying the tables 1 to 4, and group 2 will take 5 to 8, right? So work out the different patterns, test each other on the patterns, or just simply talk and discuss about the different patterns, and after reviewing each table, write 2 more sentences or questions for each pattern. So I'm going to go over all of them and then we'll move on. So we have table 1, pronoun plus verb plus the verb infinitive with to plus our noun. So we have I want to buy a jacket, right? She wants to go to a film, right? If I want to add my own sentence, I can also say I want to buy food, right? She wants to go to the theater, right? All of these are different examples that you can use. You can use your own examples, by the way. Don't take my examples. All right? So what else do we have? We have table 2. Now we have the pronoun plus the auxiliary, right? And then not, here it's in the form of apostrophe, and then we have verb and obviously the second verb, which is infinitive with to, and the noun. So we have they don't want to watch TV, and he doesn't want to get a bag, right? Any more examples that I can use? I can probably say they don't want to play tonight, right? They don't want to play tonight. I got all of the necessary words in. He doesn't want to get a bag. I could also say he doesn't want to get, for example, popcorn, right? So he doesn't want to get popcorn, right? Then we have table 3, auxiliary, subject, again, pronoun, verb, and the second verb, infinitive with to, and the noun. So these are in the form of questions, by the way. So do you want to get an iPod? These are called do questions, okay? So do you want to get an iPod? And does he want to play tennis? So we'll say, do you want to get an A+, right? Do you want to get a PS4? Do you want to get a new PC? All of these are similar examples. Does he want to play tennis? I could also say, does he want to play basketball? Does he want to play computer games? Again, different examples, your choice. Okay? What else we have? Here we have table 4. Now these are in the form of question words. Pretty sure you guys know question words. So what, where, how, when, right? You get the idea, etc. So what do you want to do? Right? And where does he want to go? Now you can add as many question words and just make your own questions. It doesn't matter, okay? As long as you follow the rules of the table, you should be fine, okay? So what do you want to do? I could also say, what do you want from me? And I could also say, where does he want to be, right? All of these are different examples of question words, okay? And then we have table 5, pronoun, and the verb and the noun, adding ing, by the way, and the noun after that, noun too. Okay, so I love buying presents and she hates going shopping. I could also say I hate selling presents, right? The exact same formula and style. She hates going shopping. She loves going out, right? She loves going shopping, for example. She loves going swimming. Alright, now let's go to table 6 here, pronoun and the auxiliary, and then not, plus the verb, plus the noun ing, and the second noun. So they don't like buying presents, he doesn't like going shopping. We can also say they don't like selling shoes, right? That's correct. And we could also say he doesn't like going to the gym, right? We basically just changed the second noun. What else do we have? Here we have table 7, auxiliary, pronoun, verb, plus the noun, ing, and the second noun. So, do you like playing handball, or does he like going shopping? We could also say, do you like playing basketball? Do you like playing football? Do you like playing soccer? Do you like playing video games? All of these are different examples with the auxiliary do. Does he like going shopping? Does he like going out to eat, right? Does he like going to the mall? All of these are different examples, okay? And then we have table 8 here, Again, question word one more time, and then auxiliary, subject, and a verb. Then we have the noun, ing, and other. Okay, so what do you like doing at the weekend, or where does he like going at the weekend as well? This table right here will be entirely up to you in terms of examples. And yeah, I think that's about it. So now let's move on to the next page, you guys. Alright, you guys, so now let's move on to lesson 6, writing and grammar. Let's start with exercise A here. We have study the extracts. So let's see what we're talking about. Which words are underlined? All of these are underlined, by the way. Find and circle the main noun in each underlined noun phrase. Right, so before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about the noun phrase. So what is a noun phrase exactly? Well, when you have a noun in a sentence, it's called a noun, right? But if you add any of these accessories, either an article, number, an adjective, or even another noun, then the whole thing turns into a noun phrase, okay? So it's no longer a single noun, but rather a whole noun phrase. So in this first part of the exercise, he wants us to circle the main noun, right, of the whole noun phrase. So you got to be able to identify the accessories from the main noun itself, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's take sentence 1 for example. A novel is a long story, right? So A here is obviously an article. So can I stop with an article? So if I say a novel is a, and then I stop, that doesn't make sense, both logically and grammatically. So I cannot say that, okay? Can I say a novel is a long and stop? No, I can't even say that because now I just added article and adjective, but there is no noun. But if I say a novel is a story, for example, then this makes sense. So we'll choose story in this case. Let me actually reset this and go to story here. So story is the main noun, okay? Let's go to sentence 2. William Friese Greene made the first film in 1889 in Britain. I know this sounds confusing, but it isn't. Take it step by step, right? So we have the article. Ask yourself, can I say William Friese Greene made the and stop? No, I can't say that. That does not make sense. Can I say William Friese Greene made the first in 1889 in Britain? No, still doesn't make sense. However, I can say William Friese Greene made the film in 1889 in Britain. It's correct, so I'll choose film in this case, okay? Here we have, there are 550 million chess players worldwide. Right, so again, we have two nouns here, right? But which one are we going to choose? Remember, we want the main noun and not just any noun, okay? So again, ask yourself, can I say that there are 550 worldwide? No, doesn't make sense. There are million worldwide? Nope. Well, can I say there are 550 million chess worldwide? Still doesn't make sense. So it's only logical that we choose players, right? So in this case, he combined them together as chess players. So we'll say there are chess players worldwide, right? Then we have the name comes from a Persian word. Again, cannot use a alone. That's an article, right? Persian is an adjective. The name comes from a Persian, and if I stop, then that's not grammatically correct. So word is the main noun. Then we have the name comes from the French word tennis, right? So the name comes from the, right? If I say the French, still doesn't make sense. Comes from the word tennis. So in this case, I'll choose word as the correct one. And then we have tennis is a ball game. Again, this one's pretty simple. Tennis is doesn't make sense. Tennis is a ball. Nope, still doesn't make sense. But if I say tennis is a game, then that makes sense, okay? Now let's go to A2 here. What do we have? What kinds of words can come in front of each main noun? Tick one or more of the following. All right. So what are the kinds of words that can come in front of each main noun, like we can see here? So articles can come after main nouns, right? So articles include a, an, and the. Numbers can also be included, right? Adjectives as well, right? As you can see here, so long, short, first, French, well, all of these are examples of adjectives, right? And another or other nouns as well, right? It's not going to be the main noun, but it is going to be a noun. So you can even have two nouns in the same sentence. All right? Now let's go to A3. Which of these orders is possible? Take one or more of the following. All right, so here he's giving us options on which one is going to be the correct one. So for example, if I say an article plus the noun, right? So article as in a, and let's say no adjectives here. If I say a story, is that grammatically correct at least? Yes, it is. So we'll tick it, right? But let's go to 2 here, you guys. Article plus number and noun. So if I say and 550 million, it doesn't make sense, right? It's not grammatically correct. So I cannot use an article and then a number and then a noun, at least not in this style, okay? So this will not be chosen. And then let's go to number 3. We have a number and then 2 nouns. So let's say, for example, here, we have one. So if I say 550 million chess players, right? These are 2 nouns. So we'll tick this one as well. Then we have a noun plus an article, right? So now this is possible, right? A noun and then an article right after, right? So you're going to start with the noun and then add like a or the or an as well. Okay? So we'll choose that as well. Let's go to the next one. We have article, and then a number, and then an adjective, and then a noun. Well, if I say the 550, for example, long people, it doesn't make sense, you guys. It's not grammatically correct. Okay? So this is wrong. Okay? Then we have adjective plus article plus noun. This is super wrong. You cannot say that. So if you can't just say long chess, right? Or long Mike, for example, or people. It's wrong. Okay? So in this case, it's wrong. So again, one more time, right? The main noun, whenever you add accessories to a main noun or a noun in general, it becomes a noun phrase, and in a noun phrase, there's always something called the main noun. It's pretty self-explanatory if you think about it. How do I find the main noun, you guys? Well, just read until one makes sense, right? You can't just say my novel is and stop, or my novel is long and stop, okay? You're gonna notice it if you can differentiate between articles and adjectives, okay? So going to A2 now, these are the kind of words that can come in front of each main noun, right? Articles, numbers, adjectives, and nouns, even available in the table here as you can see, okay? And of these, all of these orders, there are only 3, which is article and then noun, right? A number and then 2 nouns. One of them is going to be the main noun, by the way. And then we have noun plus article. All of these are correct. The others are not. Okay? So that was exercise A, you guys. So now let's move on to exercise B here. Read the text. Looks like we have some stuff highlighted here. So we have the main noun, and some of the noun phrases is highlighted in green, as you can see, right? We're going to have to choose one or more words from the box, either combine them together or just on its own to complete each noun phrase. You can use some words more than once, and simply use a dash where no word is required, okay? And we're gonna have to write these words in the correct order. So let's take a look. So we have dash play is dash story, right? What a way to start. So we'll start with a. So we'll say a play is, again, a play is a story at a theater. We'll also say a. Dash name comes from dash word for take part and lay. So we'll say the. So the name comes from an. We'll say an, and then we'll add Indian to that. So we'll say an Indian word for take part and lay. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. There were no dash. We'll say no real theaters in ancient, and this is nothing, so we'll just say ancient Greece before the 6th century BCE. However, there were no dash plays. There were no, we'll say real, right? The word real plays at that time. Okay? There were no real plays at the time. People told, alright, well, we have this empty space, so we'll say dash, we'll just simply say people told, again, dash, don't need to add anything here, dash stories, but they did not pretend to be other people. Dash things changed on 23rd November, well, again, dash thing, we'll say things changed on 23rd November 534 BCE. On that day, Thespis, a Greek, became a person in, we'll say, we'll use a, so in a story. He was, we'll say the and first, so we'll say the first actor, right? Dash years later, we'll say, I think that's about, we'll say 2000, yeah, so we'll say 2000. Let me actually get that 2 in capital. So 2000 years later, Shakespeare wrote about dash plays in English. We'll say 37, I think it was 37, and we'll say the word great. So 37 great plays in English. The dash play in the world is The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. So we'll say the longest, do we have longest running? Yes, we do. So the longest running play in the world is The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. It opened in 1952 in, we'll say a theater in London. On 25th November 2002, it completed, we'll say, do we have this number? Yes, we do. So we'll say it completed 20,807 performances. Okay, so we'll write that in numbers. So 807. So 20,807 performances. Okay, so now let's read that after writing all these words in the correct spaces. We have a play is a story at a theater. The name comes from an Indian word for take part and lay. There were no real theaters in ancient Greece before the 6th century BCE. However, there were no real plays at that time. People told stories, but they did not pretend to be other people. Things changed on 23rd November 534 BCE. On that day, Thespis, a Greek, became a person in a story. He was the first actor. 2,000 years later, Shakespeare wrote about 37 great plays in English. The longest running play in the world is The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. It opened in 1952 in a theater in London. On 25th November 2002, it completed 20,807 performances. Right? So that was exercise B, you guys. Now let's move on. What else do we have here? Right, so here we're going to choose the correct word or phrase in each case. So let's take a look here. Here we have one, I want to buy or buying a pair of trainers. Well, we're going to say to buy. Why? Because it's an infinitive for the second verb after want in this case. Okay, so I want to buy a pair of trainers. 2, do you like to live in the capital or living in the capital? We'll say living, ing, because this is a gerund, if you guys remember, for the second verb, which is like here. Okay, after like. 3. What you do like or do you like doing in the evenings? Okay, we'll say, what do you like doing in the evenings, right? And then we have she doesn't like or don't like listening to music. So we'll say she doesn't like listening to music, right? Because the use of does with the third person singular and present simple negative, okay? Then we have where do you want going or to go this evening? So we'll say to go, because again, it's infinitive for the second verb after the word want, okay? Then we have 6. There are over 3,000 surfing beaches good, or 3,000 good surfing beaches. We'll say 3,000 good surfing beaches worldwide, simply because the word orders with numbers, adjectives, and the noun phrases that we talked about. Then we have 7. Tennis is an old ball game, or an old ball game for 2 or 4 people. We'll say an old ball game. Pretty sure you guys know, because an, you get the idea. Use of an when the next word begins with a vowel, even if you would normally not have a. Okay? Then we have 8. Sony made the first personal player music, or the first personal music player, in 1979. Again, we'll say the first personal music player for the same reason that we had 3,000 good surfing beaches. Okay? So that's that. Now let's move on. What else do we have here? We have some notes. We're going to be studying the notes on volleyball, and I want you guys to write a short encyclopedia article. So what do I mean by that? Alright, so first take a look at the notes on volleyball here. So we have the definition, right? Origin of name, history, and the present day, right? So if you're gonna make an encyclopedia, right, work with what you learned in lesson 4 and this lesson so far. Okay, so you're gonna probably start with talking about volleyball, right? So you'll say volleyball is a ball game for 2 groups of 6 players. By the way, I'm not making this up. This is all from the notes. Okay, I can also say it is popular with women and men, right? M and W. Now I can talk about the name, right? The name comes from 2 English words, volley and ball. You can also say volley means to hit a ball in the air. Alright? And that is how you could go along. For history, you could also say William G. Morgan, an American, wrote the rules in 1895. I could also say people played the first game on 9th February that year, right? So basically make sure that you follow this style, because it is an encyclopedia, but write with your own style based off of these notes, okay? Just to end it, you could also say over 30 million people now play the game worldwide, okay? So that was exercise D, you guys. Write a short encyclopedia, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.